If the quality of your AI content is subpar, if it's AI slop, then the first place to look is the prompts. It's not going to be the large language models themselves. If you keep giving vague, generic inputs, you're going to get garbage outputs. In this video, I want to show you the best practices for AI prompts, how you want to structure them, the information that you want to include, the context that you want to include, and how you can actually put this together so that you can create great AI content at scale using AI and automation. A lot of what I want to share was taught in this AirOps course for certified AI marketers to use both AirOps as a platform to generate AI content, but also more the fundamentals of what you need to understand regardless of the platform that you're using, whether it's make.com or N8N. The same fundamentals apply, and it really comes down to the prompts, and the prompts are going to be more important as you scale because you're going to be including dynamic inputs. So you're not going to have the same inputs every time, but the prompt will be the same. So let's get into it. Just to start more generically, I think the most important thing is to think of what the ideal end goal is, what your output that you want is, what the ideal, and that will inform what the prompt is, what the examples are, the role that you're giving the AI, the details, the specifics. All of this is really important, and it comes from just understanding what the ideal of the end output looks like from the AI. I want to show you what Anthropic has done. Anthropic has a really great guide on prompt engineering. So this is a year ago. Prompt engineering was a $200,000 a year job. There are ways I think that you can shortcut this and shortcut the expertise required and just follow the best practices. Anthropic has a great guide. The URL is here at docs.anthropic.com, and you can just see the prompt engineering guide. So when I say you want to understand what the end goal is, that will help add clarity to what your ideal goal is, and then you will be offering prompt instructions, prompts that are clear, contextual, and specific. Once you have a good understanding of what your end goal is with your AI, then you can think about the roles that you're giving to your AI. So an AI would have a system, a user, and an assistant role. So we'll get into that. But think of the system role as the general instructions that you're giving. It is the stage that you're setting so that you can get consistency across all of your interactions with the AI. It defines the AI's role, it sets the goal clearly, and then it establishes the tone and style. So if you can think of it like if you're working with a copywriter and you're giving the copywriter a creative brief before the job even begins, and then you're able to get more consistency throughout whatever it is. So for example, it could be the CMO. But to get more specific, it could be the CMO of a B2B SaaS company. It could be the CMO of a Fortune 500 CPG company. Or it could just be a copywriter. But ideally, the more specifics you're giving it, the more it can take on that role. I want to show you an example here in AirOps so that we can see how this actually works functionally. So this is AirOps, we're thinking of building out a workflow. And let's just build out a simple workflow where it is just a social media copywriter. And so I want to drag in an LLM step. So this is where we're actually going to set up our, for this particular node, we are going to set up the system prompt for the large language model. And what you see here is you have the system prompt where you can tell the AI its role and tasks to accomplish. So this is where we can say you are a social media copywriter. There's a lot more that you can add there, but at a high level, you really just want to assign a role to the AI here. So now if we look here, we have a system prompt that we are saying you are a social media copywriter. We're giving it a bit more specifics, your experience in social media copywriting for a B2B SaaS brand, and then you create highly engaging and on-brand social media posts. Now let's go to the user role. So the user role is we're getting more specific with the task that we're looking for. So in this case, we want a LinkedIn post about a brand and a keyword, and then we're going to give it some of the constraints, some of the requirements that we're looking for. So in the format, we're going to have, we want a strong hook, whether it's a question, bold statement, or surprising stat. We want 2 to 3 short paragraphs, maintain a tone that is professional. All of these things, these can be whatever you want. Think of it as in creating a recipe and you can tweak based on what you're looking for, but you want to include the details here. But the second point that I think is really important to know is that you want to give the model everything that it needs. So the more context, the more details that you provide, the better the output would be. So this includes the instructions, like for example, what we just went over, examples, the role, the tone, make the goal crystal clear. So in our example, we're looking for a LinkedIn post that's 150 characters and written in a certain tone. Set your objective, add context, like who the target audience is, the brand voice, the product details, and then any constraints. So for example, the type of words or the length of the post. And if we're working from our very simple prompt here, you can see that we have this. Now the beauty of AirOps and what I really love about this in any AI and automation is that you can include placeholders so that these become dynamic variables. So if we want to write about a keyword or topic, we don't necessarily need to hard code in, write about ChatGPT 5, for example. We can include a placeholder, and then regardless of what we say that keyword or topic is, it will pull in dynamically based on, it will fill in the prompt with any dynamic variable. And so just a quick aside, I'll show you how to do that in AirOps. So AirOps, at first, for a workflow, you want to set what the inputs are and how they flow through. So you would just simply add a field. Let's just say we'll add our field as topic and then go back. And then we can see that the topic is set as the input. And then if we click in this variables here, topic will appear. So if we drag in the topic there, so regardless of what the topic is, we can add topics and it will pull in dynamically. So based on this keyword, it's going to follow all of these hard-coded requirements. We can get more specific, but that's a little bit more in the weeds. But I just want to cover the value of including the prompt, the requirements, the details, and then ideally we want to find some examples of what good looks like, because we can tell an AI that we want it to be a punchy hook that generates curiosity or intrigue. But what if we actually show the example of what good looks like? Then we're going to get a far better output from the AI, and that's because we're providing more details and context. The next step that's really important in terms of how you're prompting, the prompt engineering, is to add structure to the prompt. So structure makes it easier for the AI to understand. And you can do this in a number of ways. There are delimiters, for example, these hashtags. You might recognize these hashtags here from Markdown, where you have a hierarchy of important things. So you want to have your instructions and then your context, and then how the AI actually reads the prompt. The order actually matters, where you're starting with a goal, then the steps, and then the data and context. So when you're adding structure, you're making it easier for the AI to understand. So if we go here, for example, back to our AirOps example, we have our brand, our key topics, we have our requirements. So we might want to just say 2 hashtags for requirements. Then we might want to have 2 more hashtags and examples. And then we can include examples of what good looks like. Or maybe we want to have do not use the words, and then we can just add words like, for example, synergy, or in a world where, whatever it is. But you are going to add structure so that you can make it very clear. And also from your own perspective as a user, it makes it easier to understand the structure of the prompt and how the AI is interpreting it, because then you can go back and troubleshoot more easily. The next step to get really good with prompts and getting a better output is to use examples, because like I said, if you show examples, it's easier for the AI to understand. So you want to grab some examples. Maybe you're pulling your best examples of writing for a blog post to emulate what the ideal blog post is, or maybe it's somebody, an influencer in your space, and you're using those as examples. But regardless of what it is, you want to gather those inputs, and then you want to have, you want to show those as examples as your user or assistant. I'll show you how that works in AirOps or any automation tool. But those examples are good because they help to demonstrate the style, the structure. They add more concrete details to what your outputs are. And ideally, maybe you can pull a few examples, because those then we're getting into the notion of few shot examples, where it's more examples, more details for an AI to understand, and you can get the closer to the desired output. Now in AirOps, actually I want to show you in Claude's, in Anthropic's best practices, this is how they're showing it. So one of their best practices is for multi-shot prompting, that you're going to just use multiple examples to give more context and more examples. So the accuracy, the consistency, and the performance is ideal. And there's an example of what this looks like. So you are the user. In this second column here is no examples, and this is with examples. So you are giving the user, that's essentially you, the user, giving examples that you want to get customer feedback and you want to analyze that feedback. Now you provide the more details. Remember, the last step, the last most important point in prompting is that you want to give structure, so it's easier to understand for the AI where to parse different things. And you can see the structure here is in these brackets, the example. So the example, first example goes here, and then close the example here. So this is one example here, and then so this is the user prompt with the examples. And now we're going to use an assistant. So this is Claude's, or the AI's, ideal output. And then here's the analysis of the customer feedback that you're looking for. So this is, some different examples of what we would want from our AI. And so when we're working with an AI, it goes where you have the system, and then you'd have the user prompt here, and then we can add an assistant prompt. In AirOps, you can just simply click and it could change user to assistant. But this is where we would want to add a couple examples of what an ideal social media post would look like for our given brand. Now, one great feature that I want to show you with AirOps is that you can actually fully upload the best writing samples, the ideal headlines, the style, the structure, all of these variables and the ideal output, you can upload into your brand kit, and then you can just pull that in dynamically. And I'll show you how you can do this. So say, again, for the assistant, you want the ideal output, you want to show good examples. And what you can do to do that is you can just click the dynamic variable and you can click expand. And here in this brand kit that we upload, we have our different examples. So we have what a writing sample is, the sample outline, the sample title, the tone, all of these things. So here we can say, for example, write in the tone of this, where we have our my supermarketer's writing tone, and then say an ideal title looks like, and then here we would again click in, and you can expand, and you can show the writing sample titles. And so even though this is going to not look like the actual title, you can hover over it and you can see what an example writing title looks like. And so that's where you can spend time to distill down what your brand kit looks like, the best practices of your writing, or if you're writing case studies or social media copy or outlines, whatever it is, you're writing it, you're filling your brand kit with that, and then you're able to pull that in dynamically as you're building out these prompts. So if you think about, you are having your system prompt, your user prompt, where you have the goal and the parameters of what you're looking for. Then you have your assistant with the best examples of what it is that you're trying to get as an output. It becomes far easier, and that really is a crux of scaling with AI and automation, is you spend a lot of the time upfront to think through the prompts, think through the best practices or the ideal output, and then you're able to scale. So if you're looking for how to create a great blog post or a great piece of content with AI manually, make sure to click the video below where I explain it step by step. And if you're looking for help doing this at scale, fully done for you, let's jump on a call and I can help you think through the strategy and figure this out. Click the link below and we can book a call. Hope to see you around. Thanks so much.